The following disclaimer is for those in California only. Pursuant to California Assembly Bill 2571, it is illegal for the advertisement and or marketing of any firearm-related products and or programs in a manner that is designed, intended, or reasonably appears to be attractive to minors. As such, if you are currently in California, this program is restricted to only those that are over 18. Please turn this program off now if you are in California and under 18. Now, on to the program. Hello and welcome to the centertenspodcast. Center is a podcast that discusses small bore and precision air rifle from junior shooting sports on up to NCAA collegiate and Olympic competition. And now here's your host, Adam Pearson. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Center. This week, as we wind down the NCAA season, we have one big match we're going to look at. This past weekend, the Great American Rifle Conference Championship was held, the GARC. That was held up at the U.S. Military Academy. It was between all 7 schools. We saw West Virginia, Kentucky, Ole Miss, Memphis, Navy, Akron, and Army all competing. We will go in order of the scores as we review everything. So we'll go ahead and get started with that. The top team for the GARC for this year, West Virginia. They topped it with an aggregate score of 47.59, which is a new NCAA aggregate record. Coming in second was Kentucky with a 47.37. Then we saw Ole Miss at third with a 47.17. With a 47.14, we saw Memphis at fourth. Navy came in fifth with a 47.03. Akron at sixth with a 47.01. And Army came in 7th with a 46.83. So we had 6 out of the 7 teams all scoring over 4,700. West Virginia had a small bore score of a 23.66 to an air of 23.93. Kentucky had a small bore of 23.50 and an air of 23.87. Ole Miss with a 23.40 in small bore, 23.77 air. Memphis, 23.41 small bore, 23.73 air. Navy rounded out 5th with a 23.31 small bore, 23.72 air. Akron at 6th with a 23.34 small bore, 23.67 air. Army with a 23.29 small bore, 23.54 air. Each team's top shooter for West Virginia, we had Gavin Barnick with an 11.93. Kentucky, we had Braden Pizer with an 11.94. Ole Miss, Emma Pereira with an 11.86. For Memphis, Gabriella Zeich with an 11.85. For Navy, we had Isabella Baldwin with an 11.81. For Akron, we had a 3-way tie at the top point. Rachel Engels, Gavin Prokowski, and Lex Kirk, all with 11.77s. So Akron had a pretty good showing for 3 of their shooters. And then for Army, their top shooter was Anusha Packham, also with an 11.77. So that seemed to be a popular score this week. The scoring teams for West Virginia. In small bore, Gavin Barnick shot a 5.93. Mary Tucker, 5.92. Matt Sanchez, a 5.91. And Griffin Lake, a 5.90. In air, Gavin Barnick fired a 600, which is only the second 600 fired this season. The first one was all the way back on September 23rd by Stephanie Allen at TCU. And Gavin was also the 8th Mountaineer to ever shoot a 600 in program history. Followed right behind him, we had Mary Tucker with a 5.98, Griffin Lake with a 5.98, and Molly McGinn with a 5.97. For Kentucky, in their small bore team, Braden Pizer with a 5.97, Jaden Thompson with a 5.87, Emmy Sellers and Sophia Cicerello both had 5.83s. In air, Emmy Sellers with a 5.99, Sophia Cicerello with a 5.98, Braden Pizer with a 5.97, and Allison Buessler with a 5.93. For Ole Miss at third, their small bore team was Emma Pereira and Leah Horvath, both with 5.89s, and Kristen Durding and Katie Tedeschi, both with 5.81s. In air, Leah Horvath and Martina Grotz both had 596s. Kristen Durning, a 594, and Katie Tedeschi, a 591. From Memphis at 4th, in small bore, Gabriella Zeich and Angeline Henry both shot 589s. Jack Kersey, a 584, and Kenley Uten, a 579. In air, Gabriella Zeich, a 596, Angeline Henry and Jack Kersey, both with 593s, and Sophie Cruz with a 591. For Navy at 5th, in small bore, Isabella Baldwin shot a 586, Marley Duncan, a 585, Clarissa Leyland, a 581, and Ryan Wee, a 579. In air, Marley Duncan shot a 595, also Isabella Baldwin with 595, Clarissa Leyland, a 593, and Catherine Daly with a 589. For Akron, in this small bore, we had 584s from both Aaron Schnupp and Lex Kirk, and 583s from Gavin Perkowski and Rachel Engels. And in air, we had 594s from Rachel Engels and Gavin Perkowski, a 593 from Lex Kirk, and a 586 from Andrew DeRoss. And in 7th, for Army, in small bore, Kyle Cutts shot a 586, Anusha Packham a 583, and we had in 580s from both Claudia Siegel and Chris Jennings. In air, Anusha Packham shot a 594, Chris Jennings a 591, Ashton Arlington a 585, and Kyle Cutts a 584. So with the GARC championships this past weekend, that actually ended the season for the NCAA competition. The next match we will be seeing will be the NCAA championships on March 8th and 9th at West Virginia. So we went over that on last week's episode. So with the completion of the season, we're going to be looking at topics for anything going on during the off season. One of the things I want to make sure y'all are aware of still is that I'm still trying to compile a good calendar that would be a good resource for everybody. It's a Google Calendar, and I know I've shared it on our Facebook page, Center Tens at Facebook. It's a Google Calendar, and if you have anything that you want us to add to it, send me an email at centertenspodcast@gmail.com. I've already had a few people sending me some stuff, and I've already added it to the calendar, so I think this would be a good resource for a one-stop shop for everybody trying to find out what's going on in the way of competitions that are available, clinics, camps, etc. I've already put all the CMP stuff on it, and I know I've put the national matches on it, the Junior Olympics on it. So if you have anything else that you want to share, you want to make sure that people are aware of to try to promote your program or anything like that, just shoot me an email and I will try to make sure it gets added to the calendar. I'd like to also cross promote again. We did another episode with the guys over at Barrel Age Flicks. They're allowing me to sit in. They've got a couple people out right now and allowing me to sit in and do some movie reviews with them. So I know another one coming up this week and one in April that they're letting me sit in on. So if you get a chance, check them out. It's a fun group. They do movie reviews, drink reviews. They try to find a drink that kind of goes with and is related to each movie they do. So they've been around for about 4 years. This is their 4th season. If you get a chance, check them out. And if you like them, leave them a good review. So it's a fun group of guys to do a podcast with. So this will be it for this week. Just a short hit since we only had the one match to review. But as we like to always say, the most important shot is the one that is in front of you. Thank you for listening to Season 1 of Center Tens. If you like the show, please leave a 5-star rating on Apple Podcast and Spotify. This helps out tremendously. Give us a follow on Instagram and Facebook at Center Tens. Center Tens can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Buzzsprout, Pocket Cast, and at centertens.com. Hope you join us for our next episode.